Hey guys, this is Arsenal Giants PS3, and it's getting to the business end of the Premier League season. There's 5 games to go, and I thought I would show you my team of the year for this season. The title's all but wrapped up, so I thought now is probably better than better than ever, to show you the players which I think should be in for a team of the year card on Ultimate Team. These are the players that I think have done the best this season. Some of them may be obvious, some of the choices may be contentious, but I'm just going to show you who I reckon, and I've got a whole team including reserves, as you can see. So I'll start off here with obviously Wayne Rooney. I can't quite afford the Manchester United version, but obviously we're going to go for the New York Red Bulls version. Wayne Rooney, I think he's just so unbelievably consistent. Obviously 8 of his goals this season have been penalties, but he's been a deadly striker as always, and one of the reasons Manchester United have managed to claw back a title this season somehow. He's a player that he's not always going to be, out of this world. Sometimes he just scores the easy goals, but they're the goals that really count, and the penalties as well. So Wayne Rooney obviously starts up front with Robin van Persie. Not too much you can say about Van Persie. He's been absolutely unbeatable this season. Obviously his form has dropped off a tiny bit towards the end of the season, but he's had so many good moments and so many good games. There's quite a few to look back on. Chelsea, when we played at Chelsea, when we played at Tottenham, he's been a massive part in all these big games, and he is solely the reason Arsenal have turned around their season. God knows where they would have been without his crazy amount of goals. So Robin van Persie, I think you were all expecting him when you read the title. Next up, we've got a player for a smaller club. I don't want to say that too harsh, but Clint Dempsey has been, again, another player that's been outstanding this season. I mean, he's scored. I think he's got 2 hat-tricks this season. He's just been on his day unplayable, and he's scored quite a few goals. He's been really good. He's been really good at keeping Fulham. He's kept them alive at points when they're looking for strikers. Before they got Perignac, they didn't really have anyone to go and get goals. Brian Ruiz hasn't been amazing, but Clint Dempsey has come up with the goods, and he's been outstanding. And so he definitely gets a part in my team of the year. Next up is a player that has kind of he's probably been Chelsea's best player this season, Juan Mata. He's been a player that he can play. I think they play him in the centre, not really on the wing. He's a player that can score a goal or two. He's got a really nice goal against Manchester United, I think it was, and he has scored quite a few goals this season, quite a few penalties as well. But he's also a player that he can play a good pass as well, and he's a player that can, dribble, which is a massive feature in a team that this season up front hasn't looked too deadly, with Drogba kind of fading away and Torres obviously still struggling with goals. I think Matt has been a vital part of Chelsea's re-emergence this season. Next up is, obviously, I'm going to say good things about Song. He's been amazing in defence this year, and where Van Persie scored beautiful goals, Song's been lurking just behind with a beautiful pass. I mean, his passing has been outstanding this season. I think he has earned his nickname, Alex Xavi Song. He's just been a very good player in the middle for us. One of our most creative players, along with Arteta. He's just been a brilliant player to watch this season, and a very exciting player. And it'll be cool to see if he can take that into next season or not. But definitely, Song, I think, deserves his spot for just being outstanding. And again, another major part in Arsenal's re-emergence. Next up, we got Valencia. A player that has only really just taken off in his Manchester United career after breaking his leg a couple of years ago. But, I mean, his performances recently have been outstanding. I think it was Blackburn where he scored twice. And he's just a player that he's, this year, right midfielders haven't been too great. Gervinho hasn't been amazing. But I think Valencia is definitely worthy of that right midfielder position. He's been a very exciting player to watch on his day. And he's a great dribbler of the ball and a great finisher as well, and he definitely, I think, earns his spot for being a very exciting and probably one of Manchester United's most interesting players to watch this season. Next up, we got Jose Enrique. This left back spot is quite hard to fill. Not too many players have taken this spot too well this season. Clichy hasn't done too great. Gibbs hasn't been brilliant. Evra hasn't been amazing. I think Jose Enrique is worthy of it, and even he's not been amazing as well. But I think he deserves a left-back spot because he has put some solid performances in for Liverpool on their better days, including a couple against Arsenal, I think. Not one against Arsenal when they beat us earlier on the season. He's definitely been a pretty solid player, just like he was at Newcastle. Next up is Vincent Kompany, or Van Zandt, however you say it. He's an absolute beast. His tackle yesterday against Arsenal on Walcott was Bobby Moore-esque. Memories back to 1970 World Cup for many a football fan will clearly there. It was a beautiful tackle, and it's what he's been doing all season. He's been a real leader for Manchester City, and I think I don't want to be too harsh on Julian Lescott, but if he had a more solid defensive partner, he could be outstanding. Just such a good player, got a lot of respect for him. He really looks like a nice, genuine bloke as well, and he's been outstanding and a rock this season. Next up is another Arsenal player, Koscielny, an absolute boss in my opinion. He's had quite a few players. He had Aguero in his pocket yesterday, among other players. He's a very fast player. He's strong on the ball. He can dribble as well, and he's just a great player. It just kind of when you're one-on-one with a striker like he was against Barr and like he's been against Aguero, he'll keep up with them and he'll eventually win the ball, or he'll hold them up. He has made a couple of dodgy mistakes this season, as has Vermaelen, but Koscielny deserves his spot for just being very consistent and very solid. I can't remember too many times when he's cost us a game. I can't really remember a time when he has. Richards, a very, very good right back, very underrated in my opinion. He's amazingly good going forward and pretty damn good at the back as well. An absolute tank in stature, and that's not using the word tank lightly. He's been very good this season for Manchester City, a very strong and calm influence, but also very deadly going forward. And I think if he doesn't start in that right back position for England at the Euros, we will be missing out on something. And another Manchester City player, Joe Hart. Again, a great season for Joe Hart. Just he's so consistent in goal. I can't think of one time he's made a blunder. Whereas players like Chesney, Krul, Vorm have in their times this season. He's been outstanding. He's been, I reckon he's one of those players that you just expect to be in the right position at the right time to make the right save. He hasn't put a foot out of line. Whereas players like De Gea as well have, but I definitely think Joe Hart deserves to be in goal. And if he has Vincent Kompany in front of him and maybe another strong centre back, not someone like Savic or Lescott, then Manchester City are going to be deadly next season at the back. Right, we've got two strikers here. First up, we've got Aguero. He's one of those players that started off the season outstandingly good, but has faded towards the end. I do believe. I just think. I don't know, he started off so promising with that game against Swansea and has just kind of put his foot off the ball and slowly kind of faded away. But I reckon, if he can regain his form next season and maybe Tevez is back to full fitness or whatever, then he will be pretty deadly. Demba Ba, again another player that started off the season unplayable, with his goals against Manchester United as well were outstanding, but he again is a player that's faded somewhat. Maybe Cisse has kind of stolen his limelight in the second half, but again he's a player that if he keeps up that consistency that he had at the start of the season and takes it into next season, Newcastle could be a very, very deadly team next year. I definitely have big respect for Demba Ba. He's a good, strong and pacey kind of striker, and he never really complains, he doesn't moan, he doesn't dive. He's quite an honest centre forward, and he's definitely been pretty interesting to watch this year, and one of the reasons Newcastle have been so exciting to watch. We've also got Bakary Sagna. He was injured obviously for the first half, but in the second half again he's been a major player in Arsenal's re-emergence. He's good in the air, as he has been. He was against Spurs and other sides, and obviously the goal against Spurs was lovely. He's a very strong centre back. He makes right back. Sorry, what am I on about? He makes the left midfielders really know what they're coming up against. Especially he's one of those players that will just not. He won't really dive. He won't be seen out of position. He's one of those players where he's going to be. He's going to be in the right position at the right time, and he's not going to make too many mistakes, and that's one of his great traits. Next up, we've got Skirtle. Now, I don't know how many people agree with this one. This one's a bit on the edge. Skirtle, though, he's not really shone through his time at Liverpool, to be quite frankly honest. But this season has probably been his best yet. He's been pretty impressive, just kind of working that line with Agger and Carragher. And when Liverpool were in their good spell, he was one of the main players. And he's one of those players you kind of feel if he was playing against a really, really strong centre back, he'd be outplayable. Or unplayable, sorry. But I think Skirtle definitely deserves a place on the bench. Next up, we got Vermaelen. Now, on his day, Vermaelen's unplayable, but against the big sides, and even against when he played QPR, when he kind of screwed up, he can make mistakes. That's why he's only on the bench. But I think, he is an absolute beast. Obviously, that's coming from an Arsenal fan, but he, as I said, on his day, he can be unplayable. But sometimes he does just let the team down. But I think he's played well enough this season, especially after coming back after the injury layoff, to earn a place in the Team of the Year bench. Next up, David Silva. Now, I was thinking about starting him, but his performance in the second half of the season, I think, hasn't quite earned him a place in the first 11. He was impressive, definitely at the start of the season. He was, on course for a Team of the, Player of the Year. But his passing and his kind of his presence in the big games really has let him down. He kind of disappeared towards the end of this season, just when Manchester City needed him, and I think that's why he doesn't quite earn a place in the starting 11. What have I done? Next up, the kind of same goes for Yaya Toure. He's been a great presence in the midfield, but he just hasn't really shone in the second half. It would seem to be, the same with quite a few Manchester City players like Dzeko. At the start of the season, they were unplayable, but towards the end, they've just been disappointing, to be quite frankly honest. And that's how their title bid is wound down. Now, these are just 5 players that I reckon almost could have got in, but not quite. We got Modric. He's been again pretty classy this season, but has just kind of let himself go towards the end of the season, as Tottenham have with their bid. Mikel Arteta's been Mr. Consistent, but hasn't done anything too exciting or interesting. Scored a lovely goal yesterday, and he scored a lovely free kick, but he's kind of wound down. Scotty Parker, he's been pretty damn good, but again a player that's wound down towards the end of the season. Leighton Baines, he's been a really good, really solid left back. Not quite as good as Jose Enrique, but when he goes forward and whips in a cross, Leighton Baines is pretty damn good. And he's a player that I think would do really well at a bigger club. No offence to Everton. And finally, Larsson. Some of his free kicks and some of his performances have been outstanding. And he's been very, very good for Sunderland, but I do not think he's quite done enough to get in the Team of the Year sub bench or starting lineup. So that's it for this, guys. Now, this is something that is going to have loads of different opinions. I would love to see all yours. If you could please post them in the comments, I reckon that'd be really interesting. And maybe tell us who you support as well, so we can tell if there's a bit of bias coming to play, as I'm sure there is with my team. But thanks, guys, for watching, and I will see you guys in the whatever next video we get out. So cheers, guys, for watching, and please post in the comments your squad for Team of the Year. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.